So, you look like you're in a smoke thing. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our.
Oh, yeah, you're still there. I thought you.
I'm still here. Yeah. Welcome to the Lovely People webinar. So tonight we have the lovely Mark Spooner joining us.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Oh, okay, Mark Spoonz. Who are you, Mark Spooner or Mark Spoonz? Who are you? Come on, who are you?
I am whoever you think I am.
Oh, deep. We've already gone
started.
deep.
And we've started.
Mark Spoonz is my alias and I really love it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think Spoonz suits you. Kind of tells people what to expect before they meet you.
So, Mark, I would really love to hear. Oh, got the lovely Fred and Sharon joining us, lots of people. So, I would really love to hear a little bit about your story and how you came across this understanding, and what has changed for you since you came across the principles, if you don't mind.
Oh my God, that's such a small question that could involve a really big answer. Gosh, okay, I'll just tell you first of all how I came across the three principles and then maybe why I was even looking for something like that. Wasn't necessarily looking for something like that, but I'd spent the majority of my life making some really bad decisions, and it will come out at some stage, I imagine, during my story. But for about 3 decades, I was living a life of addiction, some people would say, using drugs, committing crimes and all that kind of thing. Maybe that's a bit of over-disclosure, but hey-ho, I don't need to go into any more detail. And it was about 8 years ago. Can you hear me? Yeah. It was about 8 years ago. And I'd come out of, no, it wasn't 8 years ago. Gosh, no, it was like 10 years ago now.
Time flies when you're having fun, Mark.
yeah, absolutely. And I wasn't driving at the time, and I was on a bus in Birmingham where I live on the top deck, and life was pretty shit. Am I all right with using the word shit on the webinar as a lovely person? Do lovely people use that kind of language? Yeah.
It rather looks like it, yeah. I think you're a lovely human being, Mark, and that's what we like across the board. We're kind of saying, you know, this understanding is for everyone.
Okay, just checking. Yeah, that's cool. And and it was very dark. It was quite lonely, and yeah, I didn't particularly like my life experience too much. I seemed to be doing stuff against my better judgment, and I was on the top deck of this bus. I was going towards a drug service, trying to get some help, and I saw a billboard on the side of the road, and it said, "God ? Father Christmas ? Some people don't believe in themselves." Just those simple words, and I don't know. It was a bit like, you know, when you hear about Sid heard that thing that he heard from was it a counsellor or something like that? Well, I read something and I saw that in such a way. It was a bit of an insight, I guess. But hang on a second. Maybe I could just believe in myself a little bit more. And it wasn't as direct as that. It was something that happened maybe a bit sort of unconsciously. But it was enough for me to even start thinking about that life could be different. And from that moment, I started getting involved in some different things. I'm going to fast forward now. I started getting involved in some voluntary work. I started to make better decisions. Still making some poor decisions, mind you. About 6.5 years ago, I made the decision to go away for 4 months to a rehab over in Weston-super-Mare, and to not do what I've been doing for the previous 3 decades anymore. And that in itself was a very difficult, challenging, but life-changing experience for me. Came back to Birmingham from there, And within about, I'd say about a year to a year and a half, I decided that I wanted to set up a community interest company. I found out that I was quite intelligent.
Who knew?
Yeah, I know, yeah. And I also found out that I could build up relationships quite well. And on the back of that, I was like a sponge. It was like, can you imagine not living any particular emotionally mature life for 3 decades? I was like a child. I was sponging everything, learning everything, and I was able to emulate what I learned. So I wanted to set up this community interest company, which I did. But whilst I was setting it up, it felt so overwhelming at some of the points during the setting up of it. I think I was reaching out to people, and I got put in touch with, you're never going to guess who, don't think I ever told you this, yeah? I got put in touch with Jacqueline Hollows.
Oh, wow.
I knew I'd get that response. Yeah.
We love Jacqueline.
I love Jacqueline too. So this was about 5 to 5.5 years ago, and it was before she set up Beyond Recovery, before she's been doing this wonderful prison work that she's been doing, and I went to go and meet. She invited me to go and meet her, and I thought that I was meeting a business coach.
Okay.
I thought that somebody was putting me in touch with a business coach, and I went to go and see Jacqueline about some practical advice around setting up my CIC. Yeah. What actually happened was we ended up having these conversations. Like, I would go to her, she had this small office at the time above a hairdresser in Moseley. I remember we had a couple of conversations there. I remember we had a conversation at the Moseley Park, the one that you have to keep, well, you don't know, but it's a lovely walk and a lovely place with a lake. And all I knew at the time was we wasn't actually doing anything that I thought that we was going to do.
That sounds like
Yeah,
it sounds like when you get introduced to this wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah. And all we were really doing was just having some general conversations, and I liked that because they were really cool conversations. And then I went away and I felt so much better within myself, but I didn't really know why. and so Jacqueline, I think she mentioned, maybe the first session, I don't know, second session, third session, I'm really not sure. She mentioned that she'd done this, I don't know, Super Academy or something like that for the 3 principles. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, that sounds good. Yeah, nice one. Not really having any idea of what that meant. And so anyway, we stayed in touch after that. I set up the CIC. I was doing a few bits myself, and she got back in touch, and she wanted to run I think it was like a 3-day immersion. We doing all right for time?
Yeah, we're absolutely fine. Keep going.
She wanted to run this weekend thing that she got set up. Wanted to know if I wanted to come. Let me know what the cost of that was going to be. And me being me was like, well, have you got a venue? And she said, I haven't got a venue yet. I said, well, I've got an amazing venue you could have for free. Why don't we swap? And she said, okay, that sounds great. As it turned out, I couldn't do that weekend. However, I did pop in, and she had her participants there. One of the participants was our very own Michael Behan.
Yeah, lovely Michael.
Yeah. And she asked me to talk about, because I understood about the 3 principles, I understood that it was the 3 principles by then, to talk about what having some understanding of the 3 principles, what impact that it had on my life. So I did that at a 20-minute, or it might have been a bit longer, because I could go on sometimes. And I did that, and I remember Michael saying know, they both had we all had a bit of a chat. And I remember Michael saying, one of the days I'd like to set up a 3 principal meeting. That's what he said. This is about 5 years ago. Yeah, before Jack. Yeah, before the onset of Jack. So hopefully some of the people that are on here today know about Jack. Jack standing for Just a Thought. Absolutely amazing movement going on in Birmingham and the Midlands area.
Yeah, can highly recommend Jack, and Michael is amazing. And there's a page on Facebook. There's a Jack page, so if anyone doesn't know about it and wants to join, if you can't find it, then you can contact me or Mark or something, and we can put you onto that. Yeah, Just a Thought, Jack. And Michael is one of the kindest, nicest, sweetest. He's been on our Lovely People webinar. Yeah, he's an officially lovely person. Is Michael?
Lovely people badge.
Yeah.
Debra, I just had a thought. Did we get badges?
I don't know. It depends how good you are, Mark. You've got to be lovely right to the end.
I am a lovely person badge.
Get one of these. You have to get a tattoo. That's what you get.
Oh, you know about the joint ones, don't you?
Yes, Mark.
So anyway, so he said, I'd really like to set up a group, and that was fantastic. I'm sure that was the first time I'd met him. And yeah, you're so right. The thing with Michael, isn't it? He's one of the most humblest guys I know. Because even now, there's I think almost 700 fully engaged participants on the Facebook page. We've got a number of Jack groups running around Birmingham and the Midlands area. It has such an amazing impact on people's lives. And I remember when one of the venues was closing recently. Was you there, Beck? I don't know. Lucy was anyway. And I remember him saying, "I'd really love to get something started. I'd really love to get something started," and he's impacted on hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people's lives. That's how humble he is. He doesn't realise. Yeah. Anyway, that aside, so that happened. So there's the Jacqueline Hollows phase. Then there was my friend Jane Upton, who introduced me to Jane Riney, and Jane Riney was doing some Janet. Sorry, Janet, if she ever watches this. Janet, yeah, it's been a while. She was running some groups in Birmingham at the time. And then I went to go and do a talk at Birmingham University, which was really great for the ego. Met, what's his name? Wrote the book.
Lots of people write books, Mark.
Jack Pransky.
Jack Pransky.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Yeah. So I had the fortune of meeting a few people, listening to some really great conversation, and I just kind of allowed them to come in. And I've got to let you know something at this stage. Up till this very moment, I have never read anything that Sid wrote or anyone else has written, as it so happens.
Oh, he doesn't. He can't have his badge.
Never read anything.
What I have done is I've listened to people along the way. I've watched a few things. I have read excerpts of stuff, but I've allowed myself to connect to the wisdom that's inside of me anyway. And I've always been quite an experiential kind of learner, and it seems to have worked for me. So, having said that, I would highly recommend reading Sid's books or Michael Neal's books, or I've got somewhere Dickie Bettinger's Coming Home to read, which I really want to read at some stage, because I watched the conversation that he had with the co-person that wrote it, and I just found it really interesting how they wrote it together.
Yeah, that was lovely.
Really,
yeah, really nice.
And of course, I met Dickie at the conference. I went to the conference 4 years ago, and I met Dickie, and I absolutely love Dickie. And what I love about Dickie is that he's just the love just oozes out of him. He's just so authentic, and I love the way he talks about. And I don't know, is it his granddaughter or something, or
Yeah, he does
something
talk
like
about
that.
his grandchildren, yes.
Talked about and about I think his granddaughter was talking about how she could see magic because of the sparkling bits in her eyes or something like that. And it's just little things like that along the way that kind of stood out for me. So anyway, it was kind of there on the periphery, the whole 3P thing, right up until 4 years ago. And I watched Michael Neal's video. Oh my God. Why aren't we awesome, man?
Yeah.
You know, I teach for a living. I teach people how to make better decisions in their lives. Yeah. And obviously it's not part of the course, but I always give them a gift every week. And that gift is the link to Why Aren't We Awesome, man? Yeah. And actually, quite a few of them on my courses and Debra's courses actually don't tell anyone, especially not my MD. They've been coming along to the Jack meetings, making some real changes in their own lives, which has been fantastic. So yeah, so I went to the conference and I got to meet Michael and say thank you to Michael. What I noticed about Michael was in the 60 seconds we were together, probably less, it felt like time stopped and I was the only person there. He engaged me in that way. You can imagine how many people want to talk to Michael Neal. And all I actually wanted to do was say thank you. And it was just, it's that deep connection that can happen in a moment. It's that deep listening, you know, that we do when we're having a conversation with someone, and you know, it's not so much about forming an opinion or a judgment or wanting to fix or save another, which of course we can't do, but that seeking to understand through deep listening and knowing that we're all the same. You know, in that place inside of us. You know, they talk about thought, mind, and consciousness, and I still haven't got a clue. I still haven't got a clue about any of it, really. Yeah.
I don't think any of us have.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. You know, I could talk about what I think thought is and consciousness is and mind is, but then that's all just thought anyway. Because I'm just, you know, it's all this going on. The moment I try to explain something, but that thing inside, that energy inside of me, when I'm connected to that, and I'm not engaging that so much. Can you see me pointing at the head? Just checking. Yeah. Because I haven't got my glasses on. You can't see anything. Yeah. Then sometimes when that other person connects with that energy inside of them, then because that energy is from the same source, yeah, it's like we're communicating and we don't even need any words. or if we're communicating in words, the words actually don't really matter so much. And I think for me, I'm going to say, I don't know how I'm going to say this. Yeah, where I'm at right now is that I'm probably one of the richest people on this planet. Yeah, and the reason I am is because I don't want anything that I don't have. And that's a really cool position to be in life. And that includes the thoughts that I used to consume all the time. These thoughts to be coming up, still get them all the time. Yeah, jealous thoughts, resentful thoughts, insecure thoughts, doubtful thoughts, joyful thoughts, happy thoughts, and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't know really how it happens. I wouldn't say it's necessarily practice something. I used to say that you can practice this stuff, but I really don't know now. It's just that I don't seem to pay attention too much at all these days. So much so that if you ask Emma, yeah, about what my memory's like, she thinks that I have the I don't believe necessarily it's true, but she'll play with it as a joke that I have the onset of dementia. Because when she'll ask me about something from yesterday or bring up something from from the previous week. I haven't got a clue. And I think that has got something to do with that I trust this energy inside of me that's absolutely connected to the energy within other people, although I don't always experience that. It depends on the connection between me and the other person, but I know it's there in everyone. And it's connected. It's like, can you imagine being in a room, in a house, and there's air in that house, there's air in that room, and it's the same air as the air outside of the room and outside of the house, but there's these walls, yeah, and for me, it's like that energy inside of me is the same energy that there's the energy all around me, the energy that pervades absolutely everything, and it's an unspoken thing. Yeah, it's almost, and you could correct me if you want to, Deborah, because I absolutely love and trust you. But it's almost as though that doesn't involve thought at all. Now I get that everything is thought and all of that, but yeah, for me, it's about this. It's about this space. So there's this space going on, yeah. So it used to be afraid
I would say you're pointing towards mind.
No. Yeah, I am. Yeah, clearly I am. Yeah.
Which is the same energy as thought, but it doesn't kind of manifest itself in that way, I suppose. So yeah, it's beyond, isn't it?
I love the way you put things.
That's why I had you on, Mark, so you say nice things to me. Don't worry, you can be an official lovely person if you carry on like this for another half an hour.
Well, I had the thought that actually I might be going on a bit, so I thought, well, this is an actual pause because I really do kind of forget stuff. So maybe there's some gaps in there or some questions that you want to ask.
Oh, okay. So have you? Would you like to ask a question, Sue?
I'd love to.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. And
hello, Sue.
Can I just say, Mark, yeah?
Yeah.
It was wonderful to hear that accent again.
Oh, lovely.
The other thing that I want to say, you know, earlier you were talking about that sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. About you know, God and all that.
Yeah.
It was the church on the Stratford Road. I used to see every single day when I went to work.
Yeah.
It's a church
That's
on
really
the Stratford Road.
Ah, yeah, that's really cool.
It is. It is. And you know what it's called? I mean, I only came across principles a year ago. Yeah, I'm agoraphobic. Have been for 20 years. And I didn't know that Birmingham had such a massive 3P following. I'm really shocked.
Yeah, where are you
I
from
need
now,
to come home.
Yeah. Well, come and have a visit at least, and make sure it's on a Sunday, because we have a beautiful group called Sunjack on a Sunday, and it's full of love and amazing, lovely people, all of which could do one of these webinars.
The only problem I have, I'm in North Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah, and agoraphobic. So it's going to take me a while to get to Brum.
Well,
okay, it doesn't matter how long
when
it
these
takes
things
to.
can shift.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how long it takes.
I really want to connect because I obviously really resonated. Straight away, I picked up the accent. I was like, hey. You know, and then. But what is really bizarre, I didn't even know about this webinar till about 2 minutes before it started.
Cool. Well, we have these webinars at 7 o'clock every Wednesday, and we talk to somebody, and we've taught Dickon, who Mark mentioned. We've had Dickon on our webinar.
No, Dickon Bettinger.
Yeah, we have across the board. We just like to talk to. Sorry, go on.
Are you from Birmingham as well?
I'm originally from Coventry, but I now live in North Devon.
Okay. So we
Mm.
spread ourselves out, we do, don't we?
Yes, we do. And next week on our webinar, we've got the lovely Terry who's going to talk to us next week there. So,
Okay.
yeah. And I think it's really, really lovely we've just recently had a huge conference in North Devon over last weekend, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And
With Jenny and Dave?
No, we didn't have Jenny and Dave there. But we had some amazing people. It was just brilliant. It was just mind-blowingly brilliant, and we had lots of different speakers, and I just think it's really, really good to get to hear this understanding from different people.
It's his turn again.
Oh. Yeah, it's supposed to be Mark's lovely people webinar. I do apologise, Mark.
I know. Which one's better, the light on or the light off?
Oh, I thought you were just trying to get our attention.
No. Which one would you say is better?
Light off.
At the moment, light off.
Yeah, the less we can see your face, the better.
Why is it that everybody always says to me it's better with a light off, Mark?
Answer your own question, sweetheart.
So can I just respond to Sue for a moment? Yeah. So I'm a bit of a solutions person. I'm actually known as Mark Solution Spooner. And so what I think is, given the agoraphobia and given the desire to experience Birmingham and maybe the Jack group in Birmingham, maybe Sue, one of the things that we could do is I could take my tablet to the Sunjack meeting. We could dial you in, and you could be present through technology.
Oh my God, I love you already.
Love you too. I'm sure
Lisa, I know you're on here, sweetheart. You didn't link me into the group, but Kate told me about it. And that God, she did. Wow, I would love that, Mark. Absolutely love that.
Okay, well, Debra will link you in with us, yeah?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problems.
Welcome.
Yes, we aim to please, and this whole thing, like Mark, when you were talking earlier about that connection, that to me, that's what the 3 principles are all about. Just this connecting and kind of, getting people together and finding that something that's beyond the words, a connection between human beings that is way beyond the words, that kind of points us back.
I have 5 friends that are all over the world. 3 of them are on this webinar. And we literally connect like soul sisters.
Yeah.
I adore every one of them, and I get that connection.
Oh.
Do you remember, Debra? Debra, do you remember when there was a Jack? I think Beck and Lucy were there. We had a Jack, a 3 principals group. It was a Mr. and Mrs. Jack. So the Helen and Lee.
And I came on. I was on the computer. Yeah.
On the tablet. Frederick was. Frederick is on the webinar now.
Frederick is here today. Yeah.
Hi, Frederick. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, we like Frederick.
So, yeah, it's really, I just think, definitely a part of this understanding is the beautiful connection that we have across the board, to anybody. And it kind of, there's no them and us in this. There's no somebody who knows more than somebody else. This is just a sharing from our hearts of things that we've seen that change things in our lives. So Mark, what would you say is the biggest thing that's changed for you in your life since you came across the principles?
Wow, you asked some good questions.
Who knew?
So there are 2 things. There are 2 things that come up for me, and I don't know how to describe them. Okay, so the one is around relationships, and I'll come back to that. The one is around my experience of relationships, and the other is somehow, I can attempt to explain it if you want me to, but somehow through the understanding of the principles, I seem to be able to accept life exactly as it is most of the time.
Please talk more about that, Mark.
Yeah, that would be good.
Please.
Yeah, talk more about that. That is good.
Okay. So for the majority of my life, I think what I was, in simple terms, what I was trying to do for the majority of my life, and not just with the stuff that I mentioned earlier, but in general anyway, through manipulation, through anger, through using my intellect and intelligence, or whatever it might be. I was always attempting to make my life different than it was. So life is as it is. So there's reality. Then my experience of life is what I think it is, which is a bit different from reality, I suspect, most of the time. And then there's this. Then there was this how I want my life to be. You know. So desire and attachment, and I need to have this kind of job. I need to not be using drugs, and I need to have this better relationship. I need this person to do that person to do this. I need more money in the bank, and basically, I always needed life to be different than it was. And if I got any of those things that I wanted, even if it was an emotion or an experience or whatever, then it was never good enough. So I always seemed to be reaching out of myself, reaching out towards something, and that was the thing that was going to bring me happiness in some way. That was the thing that I was going to settle, and I was going to experience some peace in my life if I attained to this thought that I had of how life should be. What I discovered, and I discovered this really through the understanding, the increasing understanding, you know, the layer after layer after layer of understanding of the three P's, is that actually none of that stuff exists. Yeah, I'm just making it all up. Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm creating this suffering for myself by saying that I need something. It doesn't matter what it is, something else to experience peace and happiness. And I use those words quite loosely, because for me, happiness, if I can describe it in words, is the experience of peace and contentment. That this underlying energy kind of humming, regardless of any potential chaos or stuff going on around me, like the eye of a storm, like the eye of a tornado or hurricane. It's that peace side of it, yeah. And I never knew where it really was. and through the understanding of the three P's, what I noticed was, what I started to notice was that my experience of life, all of those things I wanted, all of that unnecessary suffering I was causing myself by not accepting my experience of life exactly for what it was, or even noticing why I was experiencing life how I was, which was simply by a thought. I could never attain something that I already had, because all I was doing was continually moving away from my acts. I don't even want to label it. You can label it in so many different ways. Yeah, my inner energy, my higher self, my uber luba, you know, whatever.
I like your uber luba. We'll go with that one.
Okay. And then somehow I noticed my uber luba. I noticed it, and once I noticed it, I seemed to gently fall into it, like in a like when you're in a dream and you fall in, and then all of a sudden you're floating. And I was floating into my Uber Luba, and then what would happen? Yeah, is I'd pop out. It seemed that I was popping out of my Uber Luba. Yeah, and something else was going on. Something else was taking me out. Yeah, either an external circumstance, somebody doing something I didn't like, a circumstance that I found overwhelming, or even just my own thinking. So the majority of my thinking just isn't true. Not my thinking, but the thoughts that arise just isn't true. And it seemed like it popped me out of my Uber Luba. We can swap the Uber Luba maybe for what's that thing when women have babies in the womb? Yeah, that's it, a womb. Yeah, like my Uber Luba is like that womb. And I'm always in it. It's just that sometimes I think that I'm not. And then so my experience isn't that. Yeah, I don't know. Everything's just stopped for a moment. So I don't know if that's answered your question. What did you ask me to do?
I think you were talking about. What were you talking about? You said something about how it had changed for you, and it was you not.
You can put the light on now, Mark. It's fine. Leave the light on.
It was.
Somebody leave the light on. Whoa.
Finally, it was around how it had changed for you was that you didn't need to change.
Right.
Yeah, accepting
so
life.
My experience so my experience of life now is I'm not looking outside of myself for what I already have. And when I say I'm not looking outside of myself, what I also mean is I'm not using my things. So that is outside of my inner self as well. When I use my imagination to fantasize about something, that something should be different than it is. So then once I know that I can experience life as it is, pretty much. Sometimes, well, often I suspect I interpret it in lots of different ways, differently to everybody that I meet. But then I just experience this kind of peace most of the time. And then when I don't experience this peace, when I start getting involved in the human experience and all of the stuff, that's kind of okay because I'm quickly reminded in some way that right, okay, this is just some thoughts that are going on, and actually I'm still in the Uber Luba, even when I'm experiencing the human experience. So what that means then is I can be completely real and authentic and vulnerable, and I can make mistakes and I can play off, but also I can own that stuff and go, oh yeah, I was thinking some stuff and I acted some way. This kind of starts moving into the whole relationship thing then, yeah. And everything's okay. Everything's always okay. We talk in Birmingham about the sunshine within us, you know. Sun's always shining, and for me, it's like, the space is always there, and this space is such a gentle, comforting place. It's quite beautiful. I mean, if we were from something, if we were from, let's say, let's just use these words, yeah, for me. If I was from some source and I came to experience this human experience through thought, and then at the end of this human experience I was to return to source, then this Uber Luba that I'm talking about, I imagine, is what the experience of being in eternal source is like. And I'm not talking about tomato ketchup, I'm talking about SOURCE, yeah?
Yeah. That's brilliant. Shall we find out if anyone else would like to ask a question? If anyone else would like to make a comment or ask a question or anything like that? See if anything's coming up for anyone. You can either put your hand up, you can wave at me if you've got your video on. Yeah, don't wave at me if you haven't got your video on because I won't know. Or you can unmute yourself and ask a question. So it doesn't look like there's any. So it doesn't look like there's any questions, which is fine. If anyone does come up with a question, please jump in or put your hand up or whatever. So could I ask you? You talked a little bit about relationships and the fact that you now see relationships differently. So do you want to share a little bit about that with us?
Okay. So the first thing that comes up for me when you ask me that question back is, in the majority of my relationships in the past, wow, to be able to even say this today without irrational thoughts or feelings of embarrassment or shame or the like, it's a wonderful thing. So the majority of my relationships, how I interacted in them was they needed to be the way I thought they needed to be. Yeah. So so how I acted in relationships was in quite a controlling way. In lots of different ways, I remember one particular relationship, romantic relationship with somebody a few years ago, and one thing stands out for me when this person was cooking in the kitchen, and I was standing pretty much over the person, pointing out that they could use a little more herb or they could stir it in a particular way, thinking that I was being helpful. Always wanting to control the environment or something around me and not really recognising what it was that I was doing. And I would experience a lot of insecurity and jealousy because I wanted to feel safe, I wanted to feel secure, I wanted to feel loved. And I thought that in some way I could make that happen. And what I found out throughout the whole of my life, that wasn't what happened when I did that. And one of the things that stood out for me with Michael Neal's video, Why Aren't We Awesome, on YouTube, was that picture of the dog. Do you remember the picture of the dog?
Yeah.
And the dog is sniffing the chalk image of the dog on the wall, and Michael said something along the lines of, this explains all of the problems or whatever. You might be able to remember it word for word. All the problems we've had in relationships up till now, because the other dog doesn't exist. The other, it's never the other person that's the problem. It's not the way they're stirring the thing that's the problem. It's not the way they leave the light on at night, Emma, that's the problem. That's not the problem. Yeah. The problem's only ever been, what I think it is. When I think that something is a problem and I want things to be different than they are, it causes suffering. It causes it for me, and it also has an impact on the person. And so what's different in my relationships today, my friendships, my family relationships, and my beautiful, amazing relationship with Emma, is that the majority of the time I see things for what they are, and I'm pretty cool and I accept them for what they are. And then there are lots of other times where I get into my thinking about stuff, yeah, and I kind of notice sometimes, and I still run with it, and sometimes I don't notice for a little bit, so I'm running with it, and then I'm reminded. So sometimes I'm just reminded within myself, but I'm in the wonderful position of being in a relationship with someone who has an understanding of the three P's. So often I can be reminded by that person. Maybe something else is going on rather than what we think is going on. Yeah. So it's the same for me, and it's the same for her. And we was actually talking today. I think Emma mentioned it today. She goes, "Don't you think it's wonderful how even when we get in our stuff, how quickly we rediscover that actually none of it's true. It's all just made up in our head. And actually we're just beings of love, spiritual beings having a human experience, that's Emma's kind of thing, and mine. And actually we're just beings of love. And we just pop back in. We just pop back into it. So that then I'm connected to my inner self, she's connected to her inner self. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the experience that we have? Phenomenal. And even someone who doesn't have necessarily the understanding of the three P's, and I don't like to say that, so as I'm saying that, I don't even like it, because people don't have to have a textbook understanding of the three P's or even have heard about the three P's to connect in with themselves. So you can imagine then that I can just sit and have a casual conversation with my mum, who, of her own accord, connects in with herself, and again, we're having that just, I can't explain it, it's like time stopped, infinity in the moment, just pure love, yeah, and I never experienced that before. I was oblivious to it. It was just darkness. There was no real relationship there for the majority of my life, until for me, I started to just become aware, I guess, become aware of what's really going on in our true essence and the rudimentals, the fundamentals, or what we call the principles, don't we, of life and what life's about. So for me, my relationship, and it's very much through having this understanding of the three P's, is enriching. It's enriching, like I'm thinking of fertile soil. It's growth. Can you imagine, like, two sunshines around each other, the growth that happens when it's like on my own, with this energy source within me and around me. Life is, I'm going to say, fucking fantastic, yeah. but then being in a relationship with somebody, the way I'm thinking of Emma now, yeah, being in a relationship with somebody who has that same thing going on, yeah. When those two things merge, yeah, something more is created, and we both benefit from it.
We were having exact same conversation earlier today. Not necessarily. We have a group, and we were talking about mastermind groups, and it's just the same kind of thing. When you get people that come together that are just and we have this kind of connection, magic is born from that, whether it be a personal relationship, whether it be something through work, whether it be whatever. We've got, human beings are more than the sum of their parts, and when we come together in a loving space like that, it's amazing what we can create. Absolutely mind-blowingly amazing. We are definitely more than the sum of its parts. And there's something that personal that's happened for me on this call, Mark, that I wanted to say to you. Thank you very, very much, because it's just, I know you know a little bit about my background, and I was in a very controlling relationship, and very often people kind of say to me, you know, how do you feel about the person who controlled you in this side. And it's really, I always say, I just think these principles, it just felt like I was one end of a seesaw, and it could just as easily have been, it was just insecurity. Whichever way you go, you're just insecure, and that's what you do. And it doesn't look any different to me. You know, it kind of, in our society, I'm labelled as a victim, and somebody like you would be labelled as a perpetrator. And those labels to me are just pointless. It just looks like you were a victim of your thinking and your insecurity, and so was I. And however it played out, it's just no different. And it's really, it was beautiful for me hearing what you said and kind of seeing, yeah, it doesn't matter where you come into this understanding, it levels the playing field, and it just makes us all the same. So thank you for that.
Welcome. It really does, and that is the beauty of it. It's so beautiful, especially in the the work that I do now. Of course, I'm going to do the kind of work that I do now, and being able to be in a room, teaching people some stuff around their thinking. It's not 3P based stuff. It's neuroscience based stuff. It's CBT based stuff. It's NLP based stuff. But actually, unofficially, don't tell anyone. You know what often I talk about in those groups. But the most important thing is that I can, from a loving place, sit there with the individuals that first of all see me as their tutor, maybe look at me from the child parent perspective, and be able to say unequivocally, right deep into their heart, we're all the same here. There's nothing wrong with you, and I want to be clear about that. And nothing that I'm going to say over the next few days is anything that you already know within you. And I've got goosebumps at the moment, because that's beautiful, and it's powerful, and it's empowering for them to have that understanding. Right, this guy that's here to help me actually has introduced me to the idea that we're all exactly the same, and there's nothing wrong with me, and immediately we're open to so many possibilities. It's absolutely beautiful.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I put the glasses on to check the time. Oh, but that's really good, isn't it?
So has anybody got a question, or has anything coming up for anyone? Has anybody got anything they would like to share, a comment or a question, anything like that? We're about 7 minutes left.
Maybe Emma wants to surprise me by asking me to marry her. Or I could do it the other way around, couldn't I?
You could ask Emma on here, yeah, you could.
Wouldn't you expecting that, would you, sweetie pie?
Hi, Terry. Did you want to say something?
Saved by Kerry, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing, Mark. I can really relate to everything you're saying. I had a conversation with someone yesterday. This is someone, I guess you call it a mastermind group, but we never deemed it a mastermind group. Just a bunch of artists sitting around talking.
A mastermind group, yeah.
Mastermind artist group.
Yeah.
And so we can kind of look at like mind as the mastermind, and we're all part of that. So we're all in a mastermind group all the time. So she was sharing with me some personal struggles she has with her own creativity, and this is so what I see to be true in my own life. Like you're reaching and going for something, right? You're trying to get enough, you're trying to establish whatever it is, whatever that business is, to get somewhere else. And so I was just talking to her about, the fact that we only ever have this instant in time, and that, we're trained, at least in this culture, to be constantly going for the next thing. Like I ran through my life when I wasn't being depressed. I was like on it, just like I couldn't go fast enough to get out of the moment to move to the next thing. And now that's all changed, right? So I was talking to her about that, and I don't have a clue what I was saying. You know how that is. You just talk and mind works, and then you have a great conversation. And she back at me, we were, it's always a wonderful exchange. She texted me this morning and shared with me an insight she had after a conversation when she was working in her studio on her artwork. And I literally felt like I was having the same experience while I was reading her text. I mean, my whole body started doing that, energy like you were talking about. And I've had that several times while you've been talking, because we're pointing back at something that's true to all of us, that we all know. And I've watched my mind go off in other directions and get distracted by a drawing I was doing, and all that stuff. And I know I'm still sitting in the middle, and have never left the truth of who I am, even with all this stuff going on. So, but that I think was the first time, maybe not the first time, but I'm going to tell you it's the first time that someone has shared with me over a text. It's like I'm not even talking to this person, because it's happened when I'm speaking to people. That I was in such a state that I could fully appreciate her insight in my own experience. Like I wasn't in the way of it somehow with my own thinking. There was no sense of, wow, I must have said something really cool to her to have her open to something while she was in her studio working. There was no sense of that at all. It was just like, wow, I'm so grateful she's sharing that with me, because I'm experiencing it with her in the moment. It was just so cool. So that might relate somewhat to your relationship and your other insights you've had over time. And I certainly can relate to being the control freak in my relationships. I didn't ever really see it that way at the time. I thought, oh, well, this person just needs my guidance because they're having a hard time doing what I want them to do. And, they're not fitting my idea of how it should be. And I still catch myself being that wonderful person who feels like they need to art direct everything everybody's doing. But I'm not taking it personally like I used to. Like it'll happen and I'll go, wow, there was a day that I would spend the next 2 days obsessed about making a mistake in how I was treating someone else. Just being so, just so caught up in my action in that moment, as if it was me. I should know better than this. I know about the principles. I shouldn't be treating other people this way. And now I just go, wow, isn't it amazing what my head comes up with? And I'm fine.
Yeah.
So that has been a huge change for me. So I appreciate your conversation. It's really spoken to me on a lot of levels.
Thank you, Terry.
And you look wonderful in the light and with the light on.
Yay! That's 2 people in one night. Love it. Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say one more thing. I love your cat, Anne, okay? And your pup is darn cute.
Yeah.
The cat has been amazing.
The cat and the dog. The cat and the dog. It's been great.
That's been a whole other thing.
It's been lovely listening to Mark, but really, really nice just watching the cat as Mark's talking. Yeah, I've not been looking at you, Mark.
Oh.
Debra, you froze. And I think she was going to say we've really been interested in the cat, but Mark, you've been really awesome.
Thank you.
I don't know if they can hear us now. Are we back?
Are we back? Everybody's frozen. Look, everybody's
no.
frozen. Oh,
Just
we
as
cut
I
out
was
right?
about to say,
Yeah.
join the Jack Club. I think we might be over.
Hello.
Should we put something in chat and see if that works?
Yeah, you can do. I don't know whether only we can see the chat.
Thanks to everyone.
Oh. Wait. Hello.
Thank you, Mark. Love what you said.
Oh, hello. Are we back?
Hello. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Well, we've only come back really to say goodbye, but no, thanks. That was an amazing webinar. Thank you, and thank you, Mark, and thank you for Sue and Terry for your comments, and for everybody for being here and listening. So, a big shout out for Jat on Facebook, and if you are close enough to Birmingham, there are some amazing groups, so check that out too. Yeah, that's great. And next week we're going to be speaking to the lovely Terry. She's going to be sharing with us. She's going to be our lovely person. Yeah, sorry, what was that?
Saturday workshop.
Oh, and when is that?
A week on Saturday.
So a week on Saturday, if you are close enough. Sorry, Mark, go on.
I was just saying to hi to Lucy. I wondered where she was.
Oh yeah, she's over there listening.
Eating chocolate.
She's eating chocolate and listening to you. Yeah. Oh, another cat. We have the webinar of the cats and dogs. So if anyone lives close enough or fancies a trip, we in Devon next, not this Saturday, but the one after, we've got our end of the month workshop that we always do at the end of the month. So if anyone wants to inquire about that, please feel free. Anything else?
I think that's it.
And you can join these webinars. Some of you are new to this webinar tonight. We do this every single Wednesday night. We speak to somebody different at about 7 o'clock. We're on here. You can use the exact same link as you used to get on here, or you can find me on Facebook, Debra Simmons. You can find my page on Facebook, debrasimmons.co.uk. You can message me. I'll send you the link out if you've lost it. Yeah, it's a really lovely way to connect, and we hear somebody different each week talking where everybody's pointing to the same thing, that exact thing that Mark was talking about, this thing that brings magic into your relationships, that changes your life. And we talk about it in all sorts of ways. I know Terry is an artist, so I'm sure she's going to be sharing with us a little bit about creativity and art. But it's kind of across the board, and it's amazing what you hear in these webinars from all sorts. We just see how all of us are exactly the same. There's a place in us where all of us are connected and all of us are the same. So thank you very much. Another thank you to Mark. That was lovely. Thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. Hello, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody.
Debra, can
Yeah?
you put the link up for Mark for me?
Yeah,
So
are
much-
you...
Do you just want to put a link to the Jack Club page, and I can link you with everyone that way if they want to join it.
Yeah. Okay.
Where do you want us to put the link? Sue, are you on Facebook?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's Susan Turner on Facebook.
Okay, and our page is debrasimmons.co.uk, so you can go and like that, and then we can connect with you. Or the Jack group on Facebook is just j.a.t. Club CIC, so it'll probably come up as soon as you start searching anyway. But if you drop Debra on Facebook.
If you're lost at all, if you just find me on Facebook or Mark Spooner or Debra Simmons, if you DebraSimmons, if you find us anywhere, we'll be able to put you in contact with anybody that you
brilliant
want to. Okay,
perfect.
Thanks, Debra. Bye, Beck.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.